Hey everyone, I'm Josh from WPSculptor.com. In this video, I'm going to discuss how to use the basic blogging features included with WordPress and the Divi theme. So you'll learn all about how to create a blog, the difference between a blog page and static pages. You'll learn about organizing your blog posts into categories. We'll also discuss how to use widgets and the sidebar widget area, and also adjusting permalink settings, which is pretty important, and then using optional comment settings, as well as how to get your own gravatar photo that will show up on your blog comments. And as a bonus, I'm going to show you how to use the Divi Builder included with the Divi theme to create a grid of blog posts from specific categories only. And this is going to allow you to organize your blog content any way you want to. And this is a really neat feature of the Divi theme. And then, of course, you can click on the featured image or the read more link to view the full contents of each blog post. Now, I do want to point out that to be able to follow along with this tutorial, you will need to own the Divi theme, and you'll also need a working knowledge of how to use it. You can access my full-length Divi tutorial or purchase the Divi theme using the links you see on the screen here. A blog is an optional tool that you can use on your website to communicate new thoughts and ideas to your readers. And if you do choose to set up a blog, then you can create new blog posts. And every time you create a new blog post, it will show up at the top of your blog page. So in this example site that I created with the Divi theme, I chose not to add a blog, but of course we're going to change that. And all we need to do to set up a blog is log into the back end of our site. So I'll do that. Type in the domain name /wp-admin. Log in with my credentials. So to create our blog page, we're just first going to go to Pages and click on All Pages. And then we're going to click on Add New. And you can call your blog page whatever you want to call it. You can call it blog, news, or anything else that you prefer, but I'm just going to call it blog. So I'll type that in. And then I'm just going to click on Publish here. Now we do need to designate this new page that we created to actually be our blog page. But first I'm going to go ahead and add this new page to my navigation menu. So I'm going to go to Appearance and click on Menus. And I'll make sure my main navigation menu is selected. And I'm just going to check the blog page I just created and click on Add to Menu. And I'll just leave it at the bottom. And of course, this is my primary menu, so I'm going to go up and click on Save Menu. Then I'll go back to the front end of my site and refresh the page. And now I have this new blog page that I created showing up in my navigation menu, so I'm going to click on that. And you can see that it's just a normal blank page, and WordPress refers to normal pages such as this as static pages. And these are actually just standalone pages that you can add content to, place in your navigation menu. And of course, you can always come back and edit them whenever you want, but generally they don't change often. And every page I've created on my site currently is considered a static page. Now, a blog page, on the other hand, which is also called a posts page, it's the same thing, they're synonymous. A blog page is not a static page. It will constantly change because every time you create a new blog post, that new post will show up at the top of your blog page above the older posts. So the next thing we need to do is take the static page that we created called blog here and designate that to become our posts page. So we'll go back to the back end, and I'm going to come down and hover over Settings and click on Reading. And first of all, I want to point out where it says Front Page Displays, you could choose to select the Your Latest Posts option, and that would designate your homepage URL to be your blog page. But when I created this site in the comprehensive tutorial, I decided that I wanted to display a static page as my front page. So with this option selected, I was able to choose the page that I'd created called Home to be my front page. And now, since I want to add a blog, now next to Posts page, I can click on where it says Select and choose any page that I want. I just created a page called Blog, so that's the one I'm going to select. So I'll click on that, and then, of course, we need to save the change. And now let's view the front end of our site. And of course, we're on the blog page, and this is just the static page. And now that we've designated our blog page to actually become our posts page and show our latest posts, when I refresh the page, notice that we have this sample blog post that comes installed with a WordPress installation by default. And you can see we have the post title, and then we have an excerpt, and I can click on the post title to be taken to the full contents of the page that you see here. And this is the actual post page. Now let's go back, and we're actually going to delete the sample post and create our own blog post. So we'll go back to the back end, and to do that, we're going to go to Posts and click on All Posts. And then to delete this Hello World sample post, we're going to hover over it and click on Trash. And then that's not going to permanently delete it. We could click on the trash folder and permanently delete it from there if we wanted to, but for now I'll just leave it in the trash folder. And then to create our first blog post, we're going to go to Posts and click on Add New. And then the first thing we're going to do is type in a title. And then I do want to point out that you can use the Divi Builder, and we cover the Divi Builder extensively in my comprehensive Divi tutorial. But for this tutorial, we're going to be using the visual editor that you see below here. So what I'm going to do is click on this icon here where it says Toggle Toolbar or Toolbar Toggle. And that's going to bring up some more formatting options. And then I'm going to paste in the content for my blog post. And we'll paste that in. And I want to point out that you can select certain text and use these formatting options, of course, just like any word processor. And I'm going to add a subtitle, so I'll press enter and I'll type in, this is a blog subtitle, and then I can select it, and where it says paragraph, I can make it a heading 2. And then I just want to show you, you can make any text a clickable link. So I'll type in, and I'm going to type in wordpress.org, and then I can highlight the text that I want to be a link to any other page on the internet. And then I'm going to open a new tab and go to wordpress.org. And then I'm going to copy the URL here at the top, go back, and we're going to click on the chain link icon to make this selected text a link. Paste in the URL and click on Add Link. So now that would be a clickable link. And then to add an image to your blog post, let's say I want to add an image right at the very top, and I want the image to be to the left of my content, and I want the content to hover around the image. I can click on Add Media. And I'm going to click on Upload Files, and I've actually got all my images already downloaded to my computer, and I use a website called pixabay.com. So I'm going to find one of those images by clicking on Select Files, and then I've got it right here in this folder. I'm going to select this image, actually this top image, and then I'll click on Open. And then I want the image to align to the left, so I'll change that there, and I could make this image a clickable link to another website on the internet, but I'm going to select none because I don't want it to be a link. And then I'm going to choose the medium option, click on Insert into Post. And then the next thing we need to do is categorize our blog posts. And this is really important to do because it'll make it easier for your users to browse through your different types of content. And with WordPress, we can use categories and tags. And I usually just use categories, but you can use both. And I do want to point out, make sure categories and tags are showing up. And to do that, come up to the top, click on Screen Options, make sure categories and tags are selected. Then we can click on Screen Options to minimize that. And you can use multiple categories. So what I'm going to do is click on Add New Category. And this first one's going to be Guitar Lessons. So I'm going to type that in, click on Add New Category. And then I'll add one more, and this is going to be a more general category than just music lessons. I'll click on Add New Category. And then the last thing we need to do is add a featured image. And again, you might need to click on Screen Options and make sure Featured Image is selected. And this is going to be an image that is going to be associated with this blog post throughout the site, and it will serve as a thumbnail for this blog post. So I'm going to click on Set Featured Image. And then I'll click on Upload Files and click on Select Files. And I've got this image here that I want to be the featured image, and I'm going to click on Open. And then we'll click on Set Featured Image. And let's scroll up to the top, and let's publish the blog post so that this page will show up, or this post will show up officially on our blog. And now when we view the front end, we're on our blog page. And of course, we've deleted the sample post. So when I refresh the page, we're going to have our new blog post showing up, and it's the only one now since we deleted the other one. And what we have here is this featured image, and I can click on the featured image. I can also click on the blog post title, and either one of those is going to take me to view the full contents of the blog post. So we have the image that we set in place, the subtitle, all of our content, and of course this clickable link to wordpress.org. And then we're going to go back to the blog page. And I want to point out that we have an excerpt, and by default, the excerpt will be the first several characters of your blog post. But I do want to show you how to use a custom excerpt. So let's go back to the back end, to the post editor. And we'll scroll down and actually click on screen options, and you want to make sure that excerpt is selected there. And then we have this excerpt option here. And I'll just type in, this is a sample blog post excerpt. And then I'll update to save the change. And then we do need to change a Divi setting to enable blog post excerpts. So we're going to come over here to the left, hover over Divi, and click on theme options. And then scroll down towards the bottom. And where it says use excerpts when defined, we're going to click where it says disable to change that to enable. And then we'll scroll down and save changes. And now when I view the front end of our site, we're on the blog page and refresh the page. Notice that we now have the excerpt that we typed in place. And of course, I can still click on the image or the post title to be taken and view the full contents of the blog post. But I'm actually going to go back and we're just going to use the default excerpt instead of a custom excerpt. So we're going to go back to posts, click on all posts. And we'll click on the blog post to open up the editor. And then I'll scroll down and just simply delete the excerpt. I just wanted to show you how that worked. Then we'll scroll up and update and view the front end of our site. And we're going to go back to the blog page. And you can see that we now have the original excerpt back in place. Real quickly, I'm going to create another blog post following the exact same steps. So we'll go back to the back end, go to post, click on add new. Give it a title. This is going to be learning how to play the piano. And then I'll copy and paste in some content that I've already got typed out here. Paste that in. And let's scroll down. And I'm going to assign this first of all to the music lessons category. And then I'm going to click on add new category and type in piano lessons. And then click on add new category. And then I'll scroll down and click on set featured image. And we'll click on upload files and select files. And I'll find the piano featured image that I have here from pixabay.com. Click on open. And then we'll click on set featured image. And let's scroll up and publish the new blog post. And then we'll view the front end of our site. And I just want to show you, of course, we're on the blog page. And when I refresh the page, of course, we're going to have our new blog post showing up at the top. And it's going to be above our original blog post. And of course, we have the featured image and the title and a new excerpt. Now I'm going to add one more blog post. So let's go back to the back end, go to posts, click on add new, and we'll type in a title. Then I'll copy and paste some content, paste this into the visual editor. And then what I want to do is add a YouTube video to the top of the post. So I'm going to click here at the top left, press enter, and then I'll click up above the text content, and we'll open up YouTube. And I'm going to find the video that I want to include in the post. And I'm just going to type in shred guitar and use this video down here. So I'm going to click on that and then I'll pause the video. And then what I'm going to do is copy the URL here. And then I'll go back and all I need to do is paste this into the visual editor. And then that's going to add the video automatically. And then, of course, we're going to assign this to the guitar lessons and the music lessons categories. And then instead of adding a featured image, what I want to do is make this post a video post. And what that'll do is take the YouTube video, and instead of having a featured image thumbnail, the YouTube video will actually act as the thumbnail for the post. So what I'm going to do is select the video option here. And then, of course, I do want to point out, make sure format this option is showing up, and you might need to click on screen options and make sure format is checked there. But after I've selected the video format, I'm going to publish this post, and then we'll view the front end of our site. And of course, we're on the blog page. We'll refresh, and we're going to have our new blog post showing up at the top. And of course, instead of the featured image, we have the YouTube video, and I can actually view the YouTube video from the blog page just like that. And I can also click on the post title to be taken to the full contents of the post. The next thing we're going to do is go over widget and sidebar settings. And notice that on individual posts, like this post here, we have a sidebar showing up on the right. And it's populated with several widgets by default. And of course, we can completely control which widgets show up in our sidebar area. But also notice if we go back to our blog page, we also have a right sidebar by default. And of course, it's showing the exact same widgets. So to control the widgets that show up in the sidebar, we're going to go back to the back end, and we're going to go hover over Appearance and click on Widgets. And widgets are a great way to add additional functionality and increase the usability of your site. And we're going to add several widgets. But first of all, notice that we have this sidebar widget area, and you might need to click on the arrow to drop down the sidebar widget area. And of course, it's populated with 6 widgets by default, and these are the exact widgets that are showing up on our site currently. So to remove these widgets, we just need to click, hold, and drag, and we can release them in this area. So I'll do that with all of these. And then to add widgets, all we need to do is choose from the available widget area. And first, I'm going to add a search widget. So I'm going to come down and find that, and then I can just click on it. And then I can assign it to the sidebar, make sure that's checked because that's where I want this widget to go. And then click on Add Widget, and that's going to put the widget in place. And then I'm going to give it a title. Say search our blog, and click on Save. And then I'm going to add a categories widget. So I'll find that. I'll click on it and assign it to the sidebar. Click on Add Widget. And for the title, I'm going to call it Blog Categories. Click on Save. And then we'll add one more, a Recent Posts widget. So I'll find that. And this is going to display our recent posts. So I'll click on that, assign it to the sidebar, and Add Widget. And for this title, I'm going to call it Recent Posts, and then I'll leave it set to display the 5 most recent posts, and then click on Save. And I do want to point out, you can rearrange your widgets and I'll just click on the arrows for each one to minimize the settings. And you could click, hold, and drag and release to rearrange those, but I'll leave them in the original order that we had them. And then we need to view the front end of our site. All that should save automatically. And now when I refresh this individual posts page, or actually we're on our blog page, when I refresh, notice that we now have only the widgets that we put in place. And your users would be able to search your site and search the content of your blog. They would also be able to click on your blog categories. So for example, if they clicked on the guitar lessons category, it would show all the blog posts in the guitar lessons category. And of course we have the video post, and we have this original post that we created. And then of course we have the recent posts, and they would be able to click on each of these post titles to be taken to that individual blog post. Now, the other thing I want to show you how to do is control the sidebar setting on your individual posts pages. So if I click to open up this guitar video lesson post, of course we have the sidebar showing up on the right. And just to show you, this is displaying the full content of the post here. So to control the sidebar settings for individual posts, we can go back to the back end, and I'm going to go to Posts, click on All Posts, and then I'll open up that guitar video lesson post. And I want to show you, if we look on the right here, the Divi Post settings, and click on Screen Options, and make sure that Divi Post settings are selected so that the post settings will show up here. But notice that next to Page Layout, by default, it's set to the right sidebar. If I change that to the left sidebar and update the post, and go back to the front end and refresh the page, notice that our sidebar widgets are showing up on the left, and that would just be for this one post. And if we go back, I also want to show you, you can choose to display a full width layout for your post by selecting full width, and then we'll update and view the front end and refresh. And now all of the content that we have in the visual editor will show up full width and span the entire width of the page. But I'm going to go back and leave it set to right sidebar, and we'll update that and refresh the page on the front end. And now we have it back to the original setting with the right sidebar. The next thing I want to discuss is something called permalinks, and really this is something we should have done from the beginning. I just didn't realize that the default permalink setting for WordPress had changed. But what a permalink is we have here at the top, we have my URL, which is going to be my domain name. And then we have / the year, / the month, and then the day. And then we have the title of the post. I suggest changing this to where it just gives the title of the post following your domain name. And we can make this change really easily by going back to the back end. And we're going to hover over Settings, and then click on Permalinks. And then I'm going to set it to just be the post name by selecting that. And the reason I want to change this to just show the post name is I just think this is going to be a better option for search engine optimization instead of having the year, the month, and the day. So we're going to change this. So we've got that selected, and then we'll click on Save Changes. And now when we go back and we're on the front end of our site, and of course we're going to refresh the page with this URL, and I just want you to watch what happens. notice that this page is no longer found. And this is because we've totally changed the URL by taking out the date components. And this is why I strongly suggest you set up the permalinks before you create your first blog post. Set it up the way that you want it, because once you change it, it's going to change the URL. And if you have other people reading your blog and you've got it set the old way and other people have been sharing your content, if you change the permalink, then those links that other people are sharing are going to take your users to a page like this, which is no good. So be sure to change that. And now, just to show you, when I take out the date component and we just have our domain / the title of the post, and when I go to this URL, it's going to take us back to this original post. So I just wanted to point that out. The next thing I want to do is quickly discuss the post info settings. And of course, we are on this individual post page, and underneath the title, we have 4 components of post info. We have the author of the post, which is just going to be your WordPress username, the date the post was published, the categories that the post is contained within, and then the number of comments. Now, all 4 of these components of the post info are completely optional, and you can control which ones show up and which ones don't. So to adjust that, we're going to go back to the back end, and we're going to come down, hover over Divi, the bottom left, and click on Theme Options. And then we're going to click on the Layout tab. And by default, we're on the single post layout. And what we have here, next to choose the items to display in the post info section, notice that all 4 of these are highlighted. If we didn't want to show any of these, for example, if I didn't want to show the date, I could click on that and then I could save the change. And if we go back and view, we're on the post page and refresh the page. Before I do that, notice that we have the date there. Now when I refresh, notice that we have the other 3 components, but not the date. And the date is something you might not want to display, and I've just seen other people do this occasionally. If users stumble upon some of your older blog posts, they might be less inclined to read it if the date is maybe several years old. So that's just something you might want to consider. And then I also want to show you that if we go back to our blog page, we have the post info showing up as well. And by default, the category, the comments, the number of comments isn't showing up, but this post info can be controlled in the same way by going back to the back end. And of course, Divi Theme Options, and we're under the Layout tab. If I click on the General Settings, we also have the post info, and notice that the comments is not showing up by default, but you could of course change that. So I just wanted to point all that out to you. Now we're going to discuss comment settings, and I'm going to go to the front end and open up the guitar video lesson blog post. We'll scroll down and you can see that by default comments are enabled, but comments are completely optional. You don't have to use them if you don't want to, but you might want to consider enabling them, because by doing so you can more intimately engage your audience, and when they have the opportunity to share their thoughts about something that you've written, this can start a conversation that might give you ideas for future blog posts. So with the Divi theme, there are ultimately 3 places where comment settings are controlled. So let's go back to the back end, and we're going to go to Divi and click on Theme Options. Then we'll click on the Layout tab here, and then under the single post layout, you can see by default, next to show comments on posts, it is enabled. If you wanted to completely turn off comments, then you could click here and change that to disable, and then of course you would save the change, but I'm going to leave this enabled. And then the second place comments are controlled, we're going to go hover over Settings on the left here and click on Discussion. And then next to default article settings, you can see that this third option, allow people to post comments on new articles. This is checked by default. And what this means is that any blog post created while this setting is checked will automatically enable comments on that post. But notice underneath that these settings can be overridden for individual articles. So that's the third place where comments are controlled, on individual articles. So you can override this setting. But we're going to leave this set the way that it is so that new posts will have comments enabled by default. And then I suggest keeping all of these other settings to the default. And I do want to point out that before a comment appears, we have this comment author must have a previously approved comment. And I highly suggest keeping this option selected, because this is going to help cut back on spam comments. You don't want spam comments showing up on your blog automatically. So what will happen is you can approve legitimate comments, and then after a legitimate comment author is approved, they'll be able to post automatically, but your spam comments won't show up. And then if you needed to make any changes, you would scroll down to the bottom and click on Save Changes here. And then the third place comments are controlled, of course, is on individual blog posts. So we can go to posts, click on all posts, and I'm going to open up this learning guitar with a video lesson blog post. And then first I'm going to click on screen options on the upper right here and make sure that discussion is checked, and it's not. So I'm going to check that. Then I can click on screen options to minimize that. And now I can scroll down. And because we have discussions checked, that we have this new discussion field, and you can see that by default, allow comments is checked. And let's go back, and just to remind you, we have comments. We are on the Learning Guitar with a Video Lesson blog post. We have comments enabled. If we uncheck allow comments and then scroll up and update the blog post, now when we view this post on our front end and refresh, notice that that takes off the option to comment. So I just wanted to show you that. I actually am going to enable comments on this post. So I'll check that, change that back to allow comments, and we'll update. And we'll refresh the front end. So you can see we now have comments enabled again. Now I want to walk you through the comment process and show you exactly what's going to happen. And of course I am logged into the back end, so some of the comment fields aren't showing up. So I'm going to open up a new browser and go back to the website. Then I'll open the blog, and we'll click on the guitar video lesson blog post to be taken to the post page. And then I'll scroll down, and notice we have all of these comment fields. So of course I'll type in the comment, and then I'm just going to type in my name, and then the email address. And then you have the option to type in a website as a commenter. And then we're going to click on submit comment. Then scroll up and notice that, first of all, this comment is awaiting moderation, so it's not going to be shown publicly. It still says 0 comments. And also notice that I have this photo associated with the email address that I use to comment, and this photo is called a gravatar. And the functionality to show photos like this is enabled automatically with WordPress. So for you or your users to get your own photo, you would just need to go, I'll open a new tab, and you would go to gravatar.com. And all you need to do is click on create your own gravatar, and you would sign up, and then you would be able to associate an image with the email address that you use here to register. And we'll exit out of this, and then every time you comment on something, it's going to take that email address and associate the image that you upload to your gravatar account. So the next thing I want to do is show you how to approve comments, and I'll just exit out of the Safari window, and we'll go back to the Firefox window here. So I'm going to go back to the back end, and I'm going to refresh the back end, and watch what happens to this comments. Notice that we have a new comment showing up. It says 1 there. So I can click on comments, and here we have the comment, and the comment showing up right here. This is a test comment. So I can hover over it and either approve it, I can mark it as spam, or I can trash it. And I'm of course going to approve this comment. So now when I go back to the front end, and we're on this blog post page and refresh the page, notice that we now have this comment showing up. And also I want to point out that because when I commented, I used a website, the optional website, I filled that out. And when I hover over the username, I would be able to click on that and be taken to the website that I put in place there. So that's how comments work. And the last thing I want to point out about comments is if people don't have their own gravatar, their gravatar account set up, then what you can do is go back to the back end, and we'll go to settings and click on discussion. You can set a default image to show up in place by scrolling down to the bottom, and we could show this image and click on save changes. And that way if they commented without a gravatar, it would just show that image. And then of course from this point forward, since I've approved the comment from wpsculptor@gmail.com, I would be able to use that email address to leave comments, and they would show up automatically. I wouldn't have to wait for approval. The last thing I want to do is show you how to use the Divi Builder blog module to create a page that displays blog posts from only specific categories. And this is a really handy feature for further organizing your blog content. So let's say that we want to create a page that only displays blog posts from our guitar lessons category. What we can do is go back to the back end, and we'll go to pages and click on add new to create the page. And I'm just going to give the page a title and call it guitar lessons. And then I'm going to click on use the Divi Builder. And just as a reminder, we do discuss the Divi Builder in thorough detail with the comprehensive video tutorial that I've linked to in the video description. But I'm going to click on Insert Columns, and I'm just going to use a one column layout. So I'll select that, and then I'll click on Insert Modules, and I'm going to find the blog module. So I'll click on that. And then I'm going to change the layout from full width to grid. I think the grid layout is really sharp. And then I'll leave the post number set to 10. And then if I wanted to just display every blog that I've created and not worry about specific categories, then where it says include categories, I could just leave these all unchecked, and then it would display a grid of all my blog posts with the featured images and excerpts. But I'm going to select the guitar lessons category, and then I'll scroll down, and I do want to leave featured image on, and then I do want to show the excerpt from the blog post, so I'll leave that set the way that it is. And I do want to include a read more button, so I'm going to change that to where it says on. And then I'll leave all these other options set to the default, and then we'll scroll down and click on Save and Exit. And then let's go ahead and publish this page. And now that we've created this page with the blog module, I do need to add the guitar lessons page to our navigation menu. So let's go back to Appearance, click on Menus, and we're editing the main navigation menu. So I'm going to click on the guitar lessons page and add it to the menu, and that's going to put it at the bottom. And then I need to save the menu, so I'll click on that. And now let's view the front end of our site and refresh the page. So notice we now have this guitar lessons page showing up in the navigation menu. I can click on that, and that's going to show me the 2 posts that we have in the guitar lessons category. And of course, if I added a new blog post and put that post in the guitar lessons category, it would also show up. So real quick, I'll show you an example of that. I'll go back and go to posts, and we'll add a new post, and I'll give the post a title. And then I'll just paste in some content. Paste that in. And then let's scroll down, and we'll assign it, of course, to the guitar lessons category. And I'll just assign it to that one category. And then we'll click on Set Featured Image. And I'm going to just use this image here. And then we'll click on Set Featured Image. And then let's scroll up, and we'll publish the post. And then we'll go back and view the front end. And of course, since we assigned that post to the guitar lessons category, I can refresh this page, and that post is going to show up on this page. And of course, it's also going to show up on our blog page at the top, just like that. That concludes this video tutorial. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, please take a second to like the video on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. Also, you can learn how to make the exact website that I used in this tutorial by clicking on the video link here. And you can check out the Divi theme through my affiliate link, wpsculptor.com/Divi. And if you decide to purchase the Divi theme through my link, I would get a commission. Thank you so much for all of your support, and I will see you soon.